Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Folks are still coming in, so we're going to give it just one more minute, but we will be getting started. Oops, I am unmuted now. And Marielle and Robert are taking attendance, just so you know. So Marielle, Robert, are there anyone, do you need the folks on the phone to call their names out for you?
Robert is doing attendance. I think that would be helpful, yes.
Yeah, give me just 1 second. I'm sorry. I had a couple people email me asking for the link
Marilyn
to the meeting.
Maklowitz.
Marilyn is the 212 number, noted.
Okay.
And then who is our 347 number? If the 347 number could share their name, that would be super helpful.
The 347 number, it's
Yeah.
Jennifer. It's Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
And then our last one, if the 570 number could share their name.
Yep, Michael Zielinski.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. That is the last time we will put you on blast this presentation, I promise.
No worries.
All right, well, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we will get started. Today we will talk about the workplace challenges, and we will go through just an overview of what they are, and then talk a little bit about your role as a mentor, the work you'll be doing with students, and then have plenty of time at the end for questions. If you have any questions as we're going through, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll either stop and answer them at that time, or we will circle back to them at the end. Great. And just to introduce myself, because I always forget to do that, my name is Katie King. I'm Pencil's Senior Program Officer. I oversee the implementation of all of our college and career readiness programming, and that's everything from our school year partnership program straight through our summer internship work, our career explorers, and this year our summer bridge programming. There we go. So what is Summer Bridge? Pencil is a proud provider of the Department of Youth and Community Development Summer Bridge programming. It is a 5-week work-based learning program designed to help students gain career readiness skills and increase their awareness of different careers and career paths. It was developed as a response to the cancellation of summer youth employment, which is typically the program DYCD would run in the summer, and which Pencil is typically a provider of their Ladders for Leaders internship program, which is the professional internship program that lives in the larger SYEP bubble. And it is a little bit shorter. It is all remote, so students are always remote. They typically would have been in paid workplaces over the summer, and instead we are trying to replicate some of the experiences and skills and introductions they would have had in that environment through this 5-week program. This is currently the middle of the 3rd week of that 5-week program. In the first 2 weeks, students spent some time on a career exploration app, and each week are spending time with Pencil staff and our business partners in career panels, as well as skill building workshops around a real range of topics, everything from project management to developing a professional resume to creating an effective LinkedIn profile and leveraging their network as a tool to both explore different career paths as well as gain different workplace experiences as they're moving through their career journey. Who are the students in this program? There are 125 students in Pencil's program. They are ages 16 through 21. They represent all 5 boroughs. They are 60% female, 40% male, 30% Black, 20% Hispanic, and 30% Asian. In addition to the 125 students Pencil is working with, we have also partnered with 2 other summer bridge providers, Sunnyside Community Services and HANIC, to help connect their students with volunteers for their workplace challenges. Pencil is really lucky in our diverse and deep pool of volunteers and industry mentors. and we are happy to be able to help some of our partner organizations who do not have the same access to volunteers. Regardless of if you are meeting with a pencil student or a student from Sunnyside or Hannock, all of your meetings will be facilitated by pencil staff. So if you have any questions along the way, we literally will be there every step. The mentor commitment, just on a broad level, we've shared 3 90-minute meeting blocks with you. They all take place at a set time, so Thursdays at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 2 p.m., or 4, Friday mornings, and early afternoons. You will stay in that block for each of your meetings, and each meeting helps students progress through a different part of their workplace challenge. And we'll dig into what each of those meetings are in a minute. We ask that you respond to student outreach between meetings. Celebrate student successes as they happen. So the little successes as you go through the project, as well as the big successes at the end. And lastly, please communicate any questions or concerns to Pencil at any time during the program. One of the things that makes a mentor a great mentor is that they feel confident and secure in the information they're sharing with students and how they're working with students. And Pencil has tried our best to proactively answer all your questions and make sure you have everything you could need, but we have never actually effectively gotten to everyone's questions. There's always someone who finds something that we hadn't thought of, which just makes us better the next time. So please reach out to us at any point. We are happy to answer your question. We're happy to work with you on anything. There we go. So what are the workplace challenges? The workplace challenges take place over the last 3 weeks of the Summer Youth Employment Program, last 2.5 really. So students are having their kickoff meeting at the end of this week. They work in groups of 5 to 10 students, and they work as a group. The challenges draw on their interests and your expertise. They will be designed together. We will share samples, but you are not required to use any of those samples as shared or, word for word. Feel free to adapt them. If you have something from your industry that you think would make a great project for a student, please feel free to bring that to the table. If you're concerned about being able to draw it out into an effective project, we can talk it through with you and help you do that. So it should really be that mishmash of what the students are interested in and what you have some expertise in. And sometimes the best expertise is just project management, not gonna lie. Between meetings with their mentors, students will work individually on their project and meet as a group at least once. So they will have one group touch point before they meet with you again. Students work on their projects approximately 8 hours each week. So these projects can be a little bit meaty in terms of what the deliverables are and the expected from the students as they're going through the work itself. As I said, we do have sample projects, but each project has the following structure. It has individual deliverables for each of the students in your group, or sometimes we'll pair students off depending on sort of where their interests lie. A final deliverable or presentation, so the students will all come together as a group to bring their individual pieces together into a PowerPoint presentation, a speech, a play, whatever makes sense for what you've come up with. We encourage you to be as creative as you feel comfortable. A research component, whether that is one student that is their whole deliverable is really doing research and talking with the other students about why that research was important, or building a little bit of research into every student's project. And by the nature of it being a group project, there is always that collaborative component. So students are always going to have to work together, if nothing else, to bring their individual pieces into that single final presentation. We have shared sample challenges with volunteers as we've shared their time slot and student assignments when available, and they range from marketing to finance, tech, law, COVID response. A lot are focused on social responsibility, nonprofit sector, public service, in part because DYCD has asked us to make that a priority in the projects. But again, if you see an idea you like and you want to adapt it for your industry, for your business, please feel free to. There we go. So we have been sharing mentor information with everyone, as well as meeting information for the first planning meeting. If you have not received that yet, You will be receiving it shortly. You are paired with one other mentor in almost every case. We have a couple of people who may need to work solo, and we have a couple of groups of 3 floating out there, but we have tried to get everyone a partner. You will work with your students at each meeting, so you'll stay with your partners as well as your students over the next 2.5 weeks. So coming up for tomorrow or Friday is that first planning meeting. You'll begin that meeting as a full group, so there will be 2 to 4 groups of students and mentors that are in a meeting together. So you'll start off all being in the same sort of Zoom room together, talking a little bit about what the workplace challenge is, just a quick refresher, make sure students don't have any questions, make sure you don't have any questions, and then review the project planning template. That has been shared with you, it has been shared with your students before the meeting, but we do like to go through and just talk it through once to make sure that everyone's comfortable before going off to actually fill it out. That first part takes 15 to 30 minutes depending on the student group and the number of questions, and then we will break you off into breakout rooms where you'll meet with your students for about the next hour. And we recommend dividing that hour into a little bit of get to know you time. So definitely kick it off by talking to your students, asking them about their interests, about their experiences, what they've been doing during quarantine, where they go to school, all those different pieces. And then from there, start to talk about the project. Project outlines that were shared with you were also shared with the students in your group. So if you got the social activism project plan, so did they. So you have that common point to start your conversation from. As you're going through and talking about that, again, adapt where you feel comfortable, but start to create that project outline, and that includes the deliverables for each student, talking about how the students collaborate. There is a section on that project plan that specifically speaks to how students plan to communicate with each other between meetings, which is really important, so that they understand, are they emailing, are they calling, are they slacking, when are they gonna have that group check-in before their next meeting with you? And lastly, your input. Where are you bringing expertise? How are you supporting their work? Are you sharing resources? Are you connecting them with one of your colleagues who has even more expertise in a specific area? Are you going to show them an example of a project you've done that is similar so that they have something to work off of? So how are you supporting their process? And lastly, you are filling out that project planning template as you're going through, so you may have the conversation and then go back and fill it out as you go. That's the workflow between you and your students. Every group works differently. And I know volunteers have said, I'm not sure how to give input. They've looked at the projects and they're just like, I'm not sure how this works. I really want to stress that for many of our students, the value in this is talking to you and hearing about the expectations, the way you approach work as a professional, the work around how do you do a project plan, how do you stay on task, how do you work as a group in a professional environment, are really critical skills to students that they have no other access to. Group work when you're a student is different than group work when you're in a professional in that type of environment. So if the students are carrying a lot of it and they're doing a lot of the online research, or they have more coding experience than you do, it can happen. Please bear in mind that just sharing your experiences, sharing your points of reference, your career journey is incredibly important to students, and helping them understand how what they're doing would fit into a professional context, how they would collaborate with other people, is really important to their learning and incredibly valuable for them. So that's week 1. There's a little bit of a debrief at the end, but that is the bulk of the meeting. Is really all of these meetings are about time between you and your students. So after that meeting, the students will have that project plan, it will have their next steps, it will have their to-do list. They will go off and they will do it. They will work on it over the next week. They will have a moment where they will come back together as a group and review what we call the check-in agenda. We ask students to look at that to you and to document where they've made progress, where they're having challenges, where they need extra help, where they're really concerned about finishing their project, and filling the sort of top half of that out with all of that information so that they have something to talk from when they get into the check-in meeting with you. So the check-in meeting, again, you'll start in a sort of larger group with that same group of 3 to 4 other student groups and mentors, have a little bit of a discussion of common challenges or successes students are facing, review that check-in agenda just to be sure that students and all mentors understand the goals of the meeting and the pieces of it at the end that they would be asked to fill out that talk through next steps. And then again, you'll be moved into breakout rooms with your student group and have about an hour to work through with them where they're having challenges, where they need to make progress, if they need or want to adapt their project, and work with them so that they have a really clear plan to get from that meeting to final presentation. That's kind of the goal of this meeting, is to make sure they have their map to the finish line, if you will. And then again, at the end of that, they'll have a little bit of a debrief before heading off to do the work to finish up their project. And for our third and final meeting, this is really a sharing meeting. We may do a quick review of successes and learning. Students and mentors will go into their breakout room to practice their project and then to share with other groups. So we don't want these projects to live in a vacuum. We want students to be able to share them with other students and mentors who are in their meeting group, who they've had a chance to hear about their progress in the other 2 meetings, to learn sort of what their final projects look like, and to share feedback and celebrate the success across the cohort. It's a little bit of a party. For many of our students, it will be their last day or their second to last day of the program, and a really happy time for them and a really proud moment that they've accomplished all this over the last few weeks. So those are the outlines of the 3 meetings. That is the bulk of the mentor commitment, is to be available and present during those meetings. In terms of between meetings, students may reach out with questions. They understand that this is not what you do for a job, that you have a job and a family and lots of other responsibilities. So we do ask them to be respectful and not pepper you with emails all day long, but really be thoughtful and send maybe one group email once or twice a week. We do prefer email as the method of communication, in part because we will ask you to copy us on all of those communications. So just making sure that someone from the Pencil team or the student's provider is on copy in any communication. In your planning meeting, feel free to let students know how much email, timing, any of those pieces that are going to make you more comfortable, more able to respond. Just really being clear with students about expectation setting is helpful to them. And we do hope that you can respond to students within 24 hours. Again, we recognize lots of responsibilities, lots of things going on for people, but even just to let students know that they've been heard and that you're working on getting them a more robust response, we'll put them at ease. A lot of our students are used to sort of texting and everything comes in within 15 minutes. If it doesn't, they just send it again. So we have the professional communication conversation with them about expectations, but we do ask that you respond to them within that 24-hour period. A lot of the work you're going to be doing is about building relationships. Again, this is the piece that most closely mirrors a supervisor or colleague relationship for our students. They are not going to have access to professionals. They are not going to have access to workplaces this summer. So we really hope that you are able to build a relationship with them. A lot of our students have shared that they have felt isolated with the loss of school or camp or workplaces. So just having someone else to talk to is really a great thing for them. So don't feel like you need to keep it all about the project all the time. Definitely feel free to talk to them about their lives. Give them voice and choice in the process as you're talking through what that project plan is going to be, what company you're going to pretend to be the CEO of, what nonprofit you're going to create a social media campaign for, which area of the Green New Deal you want to dig into, or if you're making something up entirely, what book you're pretending to put together. Give them some choice in that. Let them really lead where you're going in that, what topics you choose to go down the road of. Students are much more likely to be highly engaged if they feel connected in a sense of ownership with the work. And that is important for them, most certainly in this remote environment, that if students do not sort of feel like they have a little bit of skin in it, it is much easier for them to sort of pull back. Also be positive and simply listen. One of the things we've also noticed, and we feel it's important to share, is a lot of our students will keep their cameras off. They're often at home. There's often lots of other things going on around them. They're not always comfortable turning their cameras on. They are not required to turn their cameras on. So we'll encourage it once, but they are not required to, as long as they are actively engaging either through the chat or through their mics and unmuting themselves and talking, which is ideal. That is fine with our team. And for them, that might be the best and most comfortable way for them to do that. I know it's a little bit different than how we engage with one another as professionals, but these students are often dealing with a lot of different things and are in a different environment than we are. So we just sort of like to have a moment to call that out for folks to set the expectation that they may not be engaging in a meeting the way that we normally would expect someone who's being highly engaged to do so. You'll be giving students a lot of feedback during this process on their ideas, on their work, on how they're working together. Some tips for sharing that feedback: be purposeful, clear and actionable. I think those two really go together. Just really focusing on the work itself, the skill itself, and being really specific about the changes, providing examples. That is a really important thing for students, is an example of what we mean when we say, make that broader. They don't necessarily have the points of reference that we do or the experience that we do to understand what we mean by broader. They may go, 50,000 feet in the air when we meant 20, whatever that is. So as specific and as example laden as you can when you're sharing your feedback with students is helpful to them. It's also a good learning experience for them in terms of, oh, those are some of the things you do. Matching skills and knowledge goes to that in terms of they don't have the same frame of reference, so things that are easy and obvious for us could really be brand new to students. So even just asking, have you ever done this before, is a great way to get a gauge of that before you give feedback to students on a part of their work or on a piece that they're trying to undertake. Providing a why, so giving context for feedback for why you're making a recommendation. If you're encouraging students to do something to what would be considered industry standard, please explain that industry standard. Be it because it's going to have to go to another department and that's how they take care of things, be it because it is, the standard file format for upload to something, whatever that is, all of that context is really helpful for our students in understanding more about your workplace. They're not going to have an opportunity to ever talk to the accounting department. So hearing from you about how that part of your company or your colleagues would use the piece of work is really helpful to them. Keeping it real, being really genuine in your feedback to students, both positive and constructive, and asking about their process, which I think also goes a little bit to matching skills and knowledge, and understanding how they're approaching different parts of their challenge, how they're approaching different parts of their work. If it's something that's new to them, or they have a very limited set of experience with, they may come at it from a very different place than any of us ever would. And understanding that can help you really tailor your feedback to students, but also tailor how you share instructions and how you give advice, just knowing that they're approaching it from a creative standpoint, whereas you're approaching it from a process standpoint. So we'll stop for questions. Right here, and please feel free to put them in the chat. There's already one in there. Do the students know each other? So the students have knowledge of each other, is how I'll put it. They have been meeting with each other for the last 2 weeks in slightly larger groups. So they do know each other a little bit, but they're not students who necessarily went to school together or had any experience with one another outside of this program.
While we're waiting for any other questions, can I just call out a couple more phone numbers? Oh, go ahead. Actually.
Oh, sure. So in the weekly meetings, you are both participant and facilitator. So Pencil staff will do that opening section where we walk through expectations for the meeting and review the documents. But when you are in the breakout rooms, you will be helping to lead and guide those conversations. We're really hoping that they're a little bit of a two-way street with the students, so you're not necessarily facilitating the whole piece, but we would say that you may be the guiding or organizing principle on that. The pencil staff will also be popping around in those meetings just to make sure that they're staying on track. And there is a way to sort of raise your hand and call us into your room if at any point you need someone to come in for support or to answer a question. Next question, to confirm the project examples are just examples. Yes. So they may take one of those examples and make 1 or 2 changes, but love it and want to do that. Or they may say, I hate everything about this. What I've always wanted to do is this type of project, and you sound like you have some expertise in that. Can you help me? Either is fine. We really, the more that a student can have say in what this is and be creative with it, the happier we are. But we also understand that sort of creating one of these from scratch can be a lot of work. So if you want to just use our example or the students really like it, please feel free to. Yes, we will email out this presentation, and much to my chagrin, we are recording it and we can make the video available to folks. I will never watch it. Yes, you will receive the name and contact information for your partner mentor prior to your first meeting. If you haven't received it already, it will be coming out to you shortly. Oh my goodness, these are coming in fast and furious. The project plan has been sent to students by pencil staff in a Word document, so they will have the ability to edit it, and they should all have it before the meeting. Students have been informed about the industry partners. They've been given your title and company, and for the most part, they have a little bit of a sense of where your expertise lies. But that's definitely something I would strongly encourage as you're getting to know each other at the beginning of your first planning meeting, talking through with students, even going back to things like what you did in college and in graduate school. For those of you who do graduate school, they may get really interested in that work. We've definitely had students who met with industry partners and started out in one field, and they said, I was a psych major, and the kids' eyes lit up, and that was what they spent the rest of their summer talking about. So feel free to go down those roads with your students. So the scribe role, we do technically ask a student to, you'll notice the program manager who leads your meetings, your planning meeting, will set that up as an expectation that a student is going to complete that document and fill it out, and they will share it out to all the students in their group, to you, and to their pencil program manager, so that everyone who's going to sort of have eyes or fingers in their project has the copy of it. So we will encourage them to fill out that project plan template. In part, it's a good learning and responsibility for them to have, to start to take ownership in that way. There are not forms you need to fill out. There will be a survey at the end where we'll ask for your feedback, but in the interim, we are not asking for feedback between that or any kind of notes document. If your students request additional time or meeting, that's fine. Please loop pencil in as much as possible. We will try to have someone who's there. And if we have a couple of students and volunteers who want to do that, we may set up a group meeting so that we can have one person available and send y'all off into your rooms in a similar way. This is both for liability issues, your safety, your protection, the student's safety and protection. The remote world is still a little bit new in those areas, so we're being a little bit overly cautious. We are not sharing out student emails before the meeting. However, we can get that information to you. If you have not gotten your information yet, it is because I am waiting for confirmation from one of our partners, and you will get it this evening. I am very sorry. We are juggling many things. I realize that these meetings are coming up quickly, and I do apologize for sort of throwing things at you in this quick fashion.
Mind if I jump in with a couple phone numbers real quick?
Nope. Robert, I think you have a couple numbers you need to check, so go for that.
Thank you. So someone dialed in from 570-975-6 7825. Oh, we need to unmute people, don't we?
That's Mike Zielinski.
I'm sorry?
I'm off mute. Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mike Zielinski is the 570 number.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Sorry.
Yep, no problem.
332-223-02.